Welcome in, everyone. Ready to dive deep into the world of keeping our Eclectus parrots happy. Today we're talking food, but we're going way beyond the basics. These guys have some seriously specific
They
needs.
really do. It's amazing what we can learn from looking at where they come from, their natural environment.
Absolutely. We've got some great sources lined up to guide us, a specialist breeder and even a 60-year Eclectus expert, Graham Taylor. And get this, that bowl of seeds everyone thinks of when they think parrot food. Yeah, not so much for these guys.
Yeah, that's a common one. The Taylor source makes it clear that Eclectus parrots are a little different. They're not like some parrot species that spend their days on the ground just like pigging out on seeds. These guys are all about that canopy life, high up in the rainforest trees.
So what are they snacking on up there? What's on the menu in those treetops?
Well, besides the occasional mango, which from what I hear is basically like their version of a chocolate cake.
Oh, I can imagine.
They've adapted to live on this huge variety of fresh foods. We're talking fruits, berries, nuts, even blossoms. And that variety is key, right? That's what keeps them healthy in the wild. And that's what we want to try to like recreate as much as possible when we're talking about, feeding them in our homes.
Okay, so scrap what you thought you knew about parrot food pyramids. It's less about grains and more about, like, recreating a rainforest buffet for these guys. But how do we even begin to do that?
Well, Taylor actually gives a pretty great place to start. He says, think like an eclectus. Would you eat that? And is it actually good for you?
Ooh, I like that.
If you answer no to either of those, it's probably not a good choice for your bird. Simple as that.
It is simple. I love that. So instead of just, like, listing off good foods, what would a typical treetop menu even look like? I mean, the breeder source we have paints a pretty vivid picture.
Definitely. It's all about those vibrant colors and, like we said before, that huge variety. Just picture how many different kinds of fresh fruits and vegetables are in a rainforest. That's what we're going for.
They really do list a ton of different fruits and veggies. Are there any that really stand out as, like, critical for these parrots?
The biggest thing is that variety. Just like in the wild, their menu is always changing, right? And that keeps things interesting for them and make sure they're getting everything they need.
It's like really bringing the rainforest home.
Yeah.
And speaking of bringing things home, something that I thought was so interesting in the source material
Mhm.
was the seasonal treats. I get mangoes, but chilies? Really?
Apparently so. Taylor talks about his parrots going crazy for them. And, they can't really feel the heat like we can. So I guess it's just a flavor explosion for them.
So next time I'm at the farmer's market, I should be grabbing some chilies for my parrot. Maybe I'll go easy on the super spicy ones, though.
Yeah, definitely a good idea to do everything in moderation,
Yeah.
especially anything new. And while we're on the topic of being careful, both of our sources really hammered home washing produce.
Ah, yeah, good point.
Even if it's organic, even from a local market, you've got to really wash it well.
That's a great reminder. We want that rainforest freshness,
Mm.
but not the rainforest pesticides.
Ah.
So, okay, we've got a rainbow plate prepped and ready, but there's got to be more to it than just fruits and veggies.
Oh, absolutely. They need a balanced diet, just like us. And that brings us to our next essential element, protein.
Protein. It's essential for all of us. But it sounds like our eclectus friends need it even more, especially at certain times. The breeder source mentioned that their appetites can be all over the place throughout the year, right?
Yeah. Their needs change a lot depending on what's going on, just like us, really. Age, the time of year, even things like breeding, or the breeder source pointed this out specifically, molting.
Okay, for anyone listening who's maybe new to parrots,
Mm-hmm.
and don't judge me for this really basic question, what exactly is molting? I mean, besides sounding like something you do to old documents.
No judgment here. It's a huge part of a bird's life. Basically, it's when they replace their feathers.
Oh, wow.
All of them. So yeah, kind of like us shedding hair, but on a much, much bigger scale, and it takes a lot more energy.
It's got to be exhausting for them, like a whole body makeover. No wonder they need extra fuel for that.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Replacing all those feathers takes a ton of protein, which is why it's so important during that time they need it to build those strong, healthy, new feathers.
That makes total sense. And you know what else I thought was interesting? The breeder source mentioned that apparently juvenile Eclectus parrots eat like crazy, especially when they're going through those big growth spurts. They actually compared them to teenage boys.
And honestly, spot on. Anyone who's ever seen a teenage boy demolish a plate of food knows exactly what they're talking about.
So true. So protein is obviously key, especially during those times when their bodies are working extra hard, like molting season.
Hmm.
What are some of those, like, protein power foods that we can load up on for them?
Well, you've got the usual suspects, like some cooked chicken, obviously. Make sure it's cooked all the way through. And things like boiled eggs. Those are always great
Hmm.
sources of protein. But then there's some more, I don't know, surprising options that people might not think of.
Oh, okay. Hit me with the unexpected. What can we add to the menu that's a little less like ordinary parrot food and more gourmet rainforest?
Well, how about pumpkin seeds?
Really?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
actually packed with protein and a bunch of other really important nutrients.
I always forget you can eat those. I just think of like Halloween decorations.
Well, your parrot will thank you for thinking outside the jack-o'-lantern for them. They're a great snack. And don't forget about lentils, another great protein source, and you can offer them cooked or sprouted.
Okay, so pumpkin seeds, lentils. What about nuts? Are those all right in moderation?
Oh yeah, definitely. Things like almonds, chia seeds, they pack a lot of protein in a small package. Just remember, it's all about balance, right?
Right. We wouldn't want to eat pizza every single day.
Speak for yourself.
Okay, fair. But you know what I mean. Our parrots need that variety, just like us.
Exactly. And speaking of things we shouldn't eat every day or, ever, we've got to make sure we're aware of the foods that are just a bad idea for eclectus parrots.
Right, because what we think of as totally normal can actually be really dangerous for our feathered friends.
Yeah.
So we've covered what our eclectus parrots should be eating, all those colorful fruits and veggies, plus plenty of protein, especially when they're going through a molt and getting all those fresh new feathers.
Mm.
But now for the part I always find a little scary, honestly, the foods we should never be giving them.
Yeah, I get that. It's kind of daunting to think about accidentally feeding your parrot something that could actually hurt them. But that's why we're talking about it. Knowledge is power, right?
Right, and I have to say, our breeder source had some surprises on their no list.
Yeah, like avocado. I feel like most people know about chocolate being a hard no for birds, but you don't hear as much about avocado, even
You'd
though...
think it would be fine because it's so good for us.
Exactly. But it's actually really toxic for parrots. Both the flesh and that big seed in the middle, super dangerous for them. Like we're talking respiratory problems, heart issues, even death in really bad cases.
Oh, wow, no kidding.
Yeah.
No avocado for my bird then. Definitely not. Okay, what else is on the danger list?
Okay, so there's rhubarb. The whole plant is toxic to them, actually. And then things like apple seeds or those pits you get in stone fruits, peaches, cherries, that kind of thing.
Really? I had no idea about apple seeds.
Yep, those contain a substance that can actually release cyanide when it breaks down in their system.
See, this is why I need you. This is why I love these deep dives. Okay, so rhubarb, fruit pits, and seeds. Anything else?
Well, this one always surprises people. Lettuce.
Lettuce. Seriously, it just seems so harmless.
I know, right? But it's basically just water and fiber. There's really not much in it in terms of the nutrients they need. Plus, it can actually upset their stomachs, and if it's bad enough, that can lead to dehydration, which is a whole other issue. So much better to give them other things.
Okay, lettuce is officially off the menu. What about the breeder source mentioned milk, too, and other dairy products?
Right, good catch. Yeah, they can actually be lactose intolerant, just like some people.
Oh, wow.
Their bodies just can't digest lactose, which is the sugar in milk, very well. So that can cause all sorts of digestive issues, and in some cases even lead to something called crop impaction.
Okay, I've heard that term before, but I'm actually not totally clear on what it means.
Totally fair. It's a bird thing, really. So you know how birds have that little pouch in their throat called a crop? It's where food hangs out and starts to break down before it goes to their stomach. Well, when something gets stuck in there, like if it eats something that's hard to digest, it causes a blockage. And that's crop impaction. It can get serious. You even need a vet to fix it sometimes.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's a big no on the dairy then. No cheese and cracker parties for our parrots. Speaking of things that seem a little out of left field, remember that third source we had, the one about the different eclectus subspecies? It seemed a little random at first, but I have a feeling you're about to blow my mind with how it all connects back to their diet.
You know me too well. It does seem like kind of a jump, but it's actually a really important connection. So we've been talking about what eclectus parrots eat, but it turns out that where they're from plays a huge role in all of this too. Different subspecies come from different regions: Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands.
Okay, so
Yeah.
different islands, different rainforests.
Ugh.
Makes sense. But I'm still not quite seeing how that changes things in terms of what we feed them, since they all eat fruits and veggies, right?
Yeah.
They do. But just like you might find different varieties of apples in different parts of the world, right? Those different regions have their own unique fruits, their own types of berries and blossoms that grow there. And the eclectus parrots that evolved in those areas, well, They adapted to thrive on those specific foods.
So an eclectus parrot from, say, the Solomon Islands might have a slightly different perfect diet than one from Papua New Guinea, just because they evolved eating totally different things in the wild.
That's exactly it. So it's not just about parrots as a species, it's about thinking about them as all these different subspecies, each with their own needs.
That's amazing. I love that.
Like Graham Taylor actually mentions things like sandpaper figs, hawthorn berries, even grevillea blossoms being part of their diet in the wild. But you'd only find those in very specific places.
So it's less about following a list of foods and more about understanding their history.
Yeah.
If we know where they came from originally, we can maybe try to find some of those native foods and give them, like, a taste of home.
Exactly. It's a whole other way to enrich their lives, to think about flavors and textures that they might instinctively crave because it's in their genes.
This is amazing. It totally changes how I think about feeding my parrot. It's not just a healthy parrot diet. It's like a personalized, gourmet, rainforest-inspired experience.
And it's all connected to their natural history. Their diet isn't just what they eat, it's a reflection of who they are.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. I feel like we've gone from Parrot Care 101 to, like, advanced parrot cuisine in the span of, what, 40 minutes?
I love it. We've debunked some myths, we talked about the importance of variety, stocked up on protein, learned about the things that can actually be dangerous for them, and even touched on the amazing world of different subspecies.
We really covered it all. But that's what makes this so fascinating, right? There's always more to learn, more to understand about these amazing creatures.
Absolutely. But for now, I think it's time to wrap things up.
Okay, everyone listening, keep those rainforest plates colorful and exciting. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
See you next time.